Good evening, everyone, and welcome to today's session of Saevus Live. We will be in conservation with another of our gallery members, but before we add him, I would like to remind everyone that the Saevus Eco Achievers Olympiad is now on. Registrations are on in our website. If anyone of you have a child studying between class 3 to class 10, do register your child. Visit www.saveus.ecoachievers.in. Our guest for today is Mr. Raghav Gupta. We're waiting for Raghav to join us. Raghav will be joining us shortly. I have already sent him the request. I think there might be some problem at his end because I know he's online. I'll just call him. Hi Raghav, hi, I have sent you the request. Yeah, definitely. We hope this will work. Raghav is also waiting to join us. Hi Raghav, you are not visible.
Hi, ma'am. How are you?
Hi.
Finally, you're online. Yes.
So welcome.
Hi, ma'am. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you now. Some
Yes. Good.
problem or the other is cropping up. We hope we can.
Yeah, exactly.
So welcome to Saevus Live.
Thank you so much.
Um,
Thank you, ma'am.
I would like to request you to please introduce yourself to our audience.
Sure. I'm Raghav Gupta. I'm based out of Kanpur. I'm in the income tax department. But wildlife has always been a childhood passion, and I'm into photography and writing about wildlife as well. And Saevus actually was one of the first platforms where I could write and send my photographs. And Damayanti ma'am was one of the first few people who encouraged. So thank you so much.
It was really our pleasure and a privilege. You have some wonderful stories, because I have seen that you actually follow not the most trodden path, but go for those species
Right.
who are not really
Yeah.
much seen or actually paid attention to.
Very true.
I
Very true,
would
ma'am.
really recommend that
Absolutely.
Because I mean, all species are interesting, and just going after the big cats is not the solution to the situation.
Yeah. In fact, a lot of times this situation arises that, a lot of people ask, when was the last time you saw a cat or saw a tiger? So that is never part of the agenda. Somehow it's like, okay, if I see a tiger, that's great, but it's never there that it has to be seen, on a particular savari or something. So that way.
So, with your hectic work profile, how do you balance going live, taking images?
Right. That's a very good question, and trust me, it takes a lot of effort, but I think it's worth it, every second of it. So, I remember there was a small little bird called the little crake, and that's a very rare bird. It's not normally found. So when I was in Mumbai, and I came to know that it is somewhere, it was seen around Pune. That's about 200 kilometers. So just before going to office for 3 days, I used to visit Pune, see that bird, and then go to office. I
Wow,
used to get up at 4, 5 in the morning and then go to office.
that's I mean, I haven't heard this anywhere else. Traveling from Mumbai to Pune daily just to see a bird and back. Hats
Yeah.
off to you.
And in fact, if you're lucky, we'll actually see that bird today. I have some of the collections and I'll show you that bird.
Wonderful, wonderful. We'll wait for it. So,
So,
going to the next question. I ask this to everyone who comes here. What do you remember your earliest wildlife memory?
okay, earliest wildlife memory. Well, the one which I distinctly remember is that actually my home is very close to the zoo. And the roar of the tiger, that used to be there every evening. And we used to hear it. And that, as a child, it was such a pleasurable feeling that a lot of people are so close to wildlife. I mean, imagine hearing a tiger every day, almost every day of your childhood. And that, and we were also very good friends with the senior IFS officer, forest officer, and he brought us 2 tiger cubs home. And
Oh,
that was one of the beautiful things to see as a child, how amazing tigers could be.
the
So in
child,
fact, it started off with the tiger, but I
there is,
never knew that lined up with birds.
I mean, it's amazing. I mean, you have such wonderful experience.
Yes, thank you. I was lucky that way.
So, when you go to take a photo, what do you look for? Do you have a specific frame or a background in mind, or
Hmm.
any specific angle, or you just go with the flow?
Well, a lot of times, actually, with birds, it's very difficult to really, have a preset mind because they're so fidgety, so skittish that even if you have something planned, they may absolutely ruin that plan. They'll do something entirely different. They'll be against the light. They'll pose in such a way that it's difficult to capture them. But sort of, you have an ideal inside that okay, this would be an ideal pose. Maybe with the light falling in its eyes, or maybe if it's feeding, something of that sort. But that's a very vague idea. Normally, I'm not very restricted by what I want to, capture. I normally go with the flow.
Great. So, what is your most rarest species that you have ever
Hmm.
encountered or taken a photo of?
The rarest I would say the Great Indian Bustard. That's for sure. The GIB.
The
That's the
GI.
Great Indian Bustard is one of. Yes, it's in fact. I remember, ma'am, when I saw it, I had tears because it was such an overwhelming moment that I don't think any tiger, any lion, anything can meet or match up to that because they're so endangered. There's just about 100 of them left, and I was in Jaisalmer. Yeah, just 100. Imagine. And so in the Desert National Park, we were searching for this bird, and for 4 days we didn't find it. We saw everything else. We saw foxes, we saw desert cats, we saw various kinds of birds, but this one eluded us. And the last day, we were almost sure that we'll not see it. We had almost given up hope, just like it normally happens in tiger safaris also. And then, right, just when we were about to take a turn, the person who was with us, the guide, he said Godawan. Godawan is the local name for GIB,
Yes.
and that's when we saw it, and that is a beautiful moment to remember.
Um, it's actually giving me goosebumps.
Absolutely.
So, what is your, say, most one adventurous trip or
Hmm.
experience, memorable experience in the wildlife?
Uh, if I had to choose between two, well, one is in India and one is outside. So I'll go with the one in India. That was Nagaland.
Both.
And Nagaland was this because of the Amur falcons. That was a story, in fact, which Saevus printed also, and
Yes.
that was a journey which is worth remembering. I could only go on a weekend, so I took around 16 hours to reach Nagaland from Mumbai. So I could use all modes of transport: the flight, the bus, the car, and then finally landed up there. I just spent about 4 5 hours there in the jungle, and my friend Onan was there. He's a local, and he helped us actually see the Amur falcons, which were 2 lakhs or 3 lakhs in number, huge number, and
Wow.
that congregation was amazing. In fact, that also I will be showing to you. So
I
that was one
I
really big
love
adventure.
the article
Yeah.
that you have done for Savers on this. Um,
Yes.
to the audience, if you get a chance, do read his article on the falcons.
Thank you. Sure.
So the next, the one abroad.
Oh, yes. The one abroad was in Papua. That is the Papua New Guinea, Indonesia. And I'm sure the viewers would know, and you would know, that we have seen this paradise, the birds of paradise, since childhood. And David Attenborough,
Mhm.
reading about those documentaries and all. And that was the aim. I had seen those birds since childhood, and that was a dream which I really wanted to, go for it. And then that actually happened. I was lucky. And the view through the jungles, we used to leave at 4 in the morning in the night. Actually, in that was totally dark, and we had these headlights, and this was a normal, very narrow path through the mountains and jungles, and we could not see on either side what's happening, and finally we would land up reaching at around 5:36, and then wait, and then after 6:30, when the sun was about to come, then these birds of paradise would come and display and dance, and that was fantastic. I mean, there were a couple of times when I couldn't even click a photo because it was so overwhelming.
Because even I have been to Kota Kinabalu, and it was an
Yes,
amazing
yes.
experience.
Wonderful. Yeah. Kota Kinabalu. Again, it's a beautiful place. Wonderful.
Beautiful place, lush
Mm.
greenery, and
Dark green.
wonderful vegetation and wildlife.
Absolutely. It's like the tropical rainforest. So it's just
Yes,
green. Everywhere is just green.
everywhere. It really
Yeah.
soothes your eyes and soothes your soul.
Absolutely. I agree.
So, what is that one species that
Mm.
you dream to take a photo of, or maybe that one place that you are dying to go to?
Right. I would go with the species. There's one species which I've really thought of. It's called the Jerdon's courser. It's a very rare bird, and I think it was last seen 12, 13 years back. Nobody has seen it ever since. And so we don't know even whether it's extinct, whether it's still there, and it's found in Andhra Pradesh. That is one of the rare birds which I want to see. The other one I managed to get a photo is the Bugun leochikla. Now this is a very typical bird in Arunachal,
Mhm.
and this bird is only found in that particular national park, or rather sanctuary. Nowhere else in India, nowhere else in the world, just a small area, and that's where it is found. So every time I go there, it's almost my target to get a photo, but I've been unlucky as of now. So let's see, maybe in the future.
Are proving elusive, but we do hope you get them.
Thank you so much.
So, have you been taking any wildlife photos, urban wildlife photos during the lockdown?
Oh yes, absolutely. As I mentioned, we have my home is near the zoo, so there's a lot of green area, thankfully, and we have lots of trees. Our garden is amazing. We have these birds coming: the prinia, the tailor bird, the Oriental magpie robin, coppersmith barbets, lots of birds. And even outside, like there's thankfully the Ganga River is very close to our home. So there's a place called the Ganga Branch, which is like this area in which we can sort of find a lot of wetlands and a lot of grasslands. So thankfully, just 5 minutes away, and because of the lockdown, we could just go. That's the nearest place I could go to, but it was amazing. I nearly counted 90 species in a span of 1 month.
You're really lucky, and I'm jealous.
Yeah, lucky,
So,
absolutely.
favorite national park of
Favorite national
in
park in it? My favorite national park would be Arunachal, without doubt. I won't have any doubts about it. Arunachal's Eagle Nest is my favorite. It is like my, yearly uh, place of worship. Every year I have to go there once. and spend about 10-15 days in the forest away from the whole world. It is entirely cut off and very, very difficult to the cars to go there, which is good in a way, because otherwise it will get commercialized and people will go there. And
Yes.
so it's good in that sense. It's actually good. It's pristine. It's preserved. And every step you hear a bird or sound which you've not heard before. It's so rich in biodiversity. Nearly 33% of India's birds are found there. So that's saying something.
That's definitely saying something. So, any trips? Installations during the lockdown?
Well, just before the lockdown, this is ironical. I was planning to go to Arunachal, which was in April, and obviously that plan got cancelled. so that is off the radar now. But as of now, I haven't planned anything. Once the lockdown situation improves and once the weather is fine, then probably I'll sort of narrow down and where to go. But Arunachal, of course, remains on my hit list. So that's my number one spot.
That's the trip in the pipeline.
Yeah.
What are your views on especially in the current scenario?
Conservation, yes. Conservation is such a vast topic. I mean, it's something which we are just getting to used to and getting to understand what it is about. But I would really, for all the viewers who are seeing this, for everybody, conservation is something which each of us need to do. In our own way, anything. Yeah, a little bit of what we can do. So what I normally suggest to everybody is that when you are in an area, maybe it's a city or town or whichever it is, whichever nearest place you find, maybe it's a grassland, wetland, or a forest, where you feel that there is some kind of biodiversity still there, then make sure that you do something to save it. You talk to the locals and tell them that, this is something worth saving. And because this is the only way we can reach out to people and try to conserve wildlife and biodiversity.
Great. So, any recommendations to go what to do in the lockdown? As
recommendations for the places
or maybe what to do during their own bit.
Right, absolutely. So as I mentioned, the beauty of it is, I'm sure even you would have seen, a lot of people would have seen that we were hearing sounds which we thought were not existing around our house.
Yes.
So that itself shows that the nature is always there. It's just that we have to open up our eyes and ears to see it, to look at it. And that's exactly what I have to tell everybody, that you can just go around to the nearest places with the binoculars or a camera and just have a look around, and you'll be surprised the kind of number of species, and make a list of it, and you'll be actually happy to see that minimum 20-30 species would be found everywhere. It's so easy to spot them. So if you do this on a regular daily basis, maybe in the morning or the evening, you'll end up finding a lot of species. So that is something which should be done.
Definitely. So one of our viewers has lockdown helped and can we expect to suddenly amaze us like the snow leopard or the
Oh yeah, this is the question. Yeah, has lockdown helped natural habitat, and can we expect some wildlife to suddenly amaze like snow leopard, black panther did? Okay, so see, outside their habitats, it's difficult to spot these animals, obviously. So let's say the black panther will only be found in forests and wooded areas, where the snow leopard would be found only in the high altitude regions. But yes, definitely, there are some species which are on the fringe, which are between the grasslands and urban habitats, and they might venture into our habitats once in a while. So, some birds might come when they realize that it's not too noisy, it's not too polluted. They might just fly around and, come to your garden or come to your building. And,
they're doing great.
Yeah. It's actually happening, right? They're taking over.
They are most welcome to take over. We are definitely,
yeah.
So,
So it's
the portion everyone is waiting for. Would you like to show us
the photos? Yeah, absolutely. That's my pleasure. I'll just there's an issue with the sound actually. I'll just try to can I reconnect? Is it possible?
Yes, definitely. Yes, definitely.
Okay, I'll just reconnect. I think there's an issue with the sound. I'll just reconnect it. Second, 1 second.
Raghav will be back soon. Um, let's hope he has sorted his problems.
Yeah,
I
I'm back.
I hope this is sorted now.
Oh yes, it is. Absolutely. I can hear you now. Much better.
Okay.
Yeah. So I'll just try to adjust this and we'll see some of the photos.
Hello to whoever is saying hello to us. And all the audience, you can ask questions to Raghav. He will definitely feel them.
So let's start with everybody's favorite.
Yes.
I thought we'll get this out of the way first because this is something which everybody wants to see.
Everybody is listening.
So
Yes.
yeah, this is in Kavini. This is in Karnataka, and this was a female tiger. And the interesting story is that we were, on a safari, and suddenly there was the group of spotted deer, and they were just, normally foraging, eating, and suddenly they just bolted. So we knew there's something wrong. There's some tiger around, and we switched off the vehicle's engine. We were waiting because we didn't know which direction the tiger would come, and suddenly, right in front of us, this female came, and she looked at us for a couple of seconds,
Wow.
and then she went away. So that is the first time I saw a tiger, in fact.
Okay.
I mean, in the wild, yeah.
That's
Then
amazing.
this is a purple swamp hen. This is one of my very favorite birds in the wetlands. It's blue in color. This is in the Ganga River, very close to the banks. And why I like this photo is because of the splash of water. It was just taking off, and
Yes.
yeah, it landed up making a lot of water droplets around. So this.
An amazing shot. Wow.
Thank you so much. This, of course, is the Himalayan Moon.
Yes. How did you manage such a close shot of the monal?
Exactly. It was such a coincidence. We were waiting. We had no idea that the monal is nearby. None at all. We had given up hope as usual. And suddenly, right in the bushes, very close to us, because probably it didn't hear us, it was right there. And I could just manage this shot, and it obviously flew away immediately. So this, thankfully, just for a second, it looked.
Where was this taken?
This is outskirts of Shimla.
Okay.
Yeah, Himachal.
Normally go to visit Chopta to see the monal.
Yeah, exactly. Absolutely. Now this is a spotted crake. It's a elusive bird, normally not seen, and this is in Nal Sarovar, Gujarat. I like this photo particularly because of the reflection. If you might see here, there are lines of the water. This is early morning, the sun was just there, the golden sun, and the reflection made it for a very good photo. So
amazing, really amazing, wonderful angle, wonderful shot.
Thank you so much. And this again, the same day, and this is the ruddy-breasted crake. Again, the same reflections. So I just wanted to share this. Now, this is one of my favorites. You might not even see the bird right now immediately, but there it is. Yeah. That is the Malabar hornbill, the Malabar grey hornbill. And this is in Dandeli, again, Karnataka. And what had happened was we knew that there's a huge congregation of these hornbills, all types, the grey hornbill, Oriental hornbill, great hornbill. And I wanted a shot with the bird absolutely enjoying the evening without any cares, whatever, and hidden by the tree. I didn't want a close-up shot. I wanted to, move further away. So this was the inspiration behind this photo. To sort of camouflage it amongst its own fruit.
That's ficus.
Yeah, that's ficus. Absolutely, ficus. Correct.
Amazing.
Thank you. This is the rain quail. We'll probably see a video of this one, so I'm not going to speak right now. I'll probably let the video do the talking.
Yes, please.
Yeah. This is the slender loris. This is in Kerala. So what had happened was, it's in the night. We were doing the night birding, watching night jars and everything. And right when we were returning, because again, we were not very sure we'll see. It's a very tiny creature, very, very, very gentle, very delicate. And this is from the primate family. So what happened was that we had our flashlights on and we were, searching in the trees above us, and there it was. Suddenly it came, with little movements, very deliberate, very tiny movements. And I was lucky to capture this photo, the slender loris.
You are indeed lucky in getting a slender loris.
Thank you.
Milk medal.
Thank you so much. This is my favorite bird, hands down. I have no qualms about it. This is my favorite bird of all time. It's the lesser florican. And I just can't, stop praising this one. So this is in Ajmer, outside the Shokalia. There's a small place called Shokalia, and outside Ajmer in Rajasthan. And that is one of the last strongholds. This is also an endangered bird. So maybe around only 1,800 of them left. And very recently, they found out that so basically they are seen in monsoons, and the other times they are, we don't know where they are. But thankfully now we know that they migrate to Madhya Pradesh in the non-monsoon months. And they again return to Rajasthan during the monsoons to do their dance.
Wonderful trivia.
Thank you. And this, of course, is the female leopard in Jhalana, again, Rajasthan. And this is a 2-second shot because it was there. We knew that, leopards come in the evening there. So we were waiting patiently. And thankfully, we were lucky. And she's called Laila. And she came, she, drank some water and then, looked at us for a second and then went away. This is also quite thrilling.
I mean, this is actually, something really riveting.
Yeah. Now this is the Nilgiri tar. This is another endangered species. So as you might see that I'm deliberately trying to put up endangered species because I want to reach out to people so that they know that these are species. Yeah, thank you. And so this one is of course in Eraviculum National Park, and that's the last place where they are found in large numbers. And very interestingly, they are not scared of humans at all. In fact, this was taken 2 feet away from me, and they're not scared. So you can imagine that they'll in fact bump into you. They'll try to say get out of the way, but they'll be there. So they're that resilient. Yeah, this is again Jhalana, Rajasthan, and this is a male leopard, and he is called Rambo. And you might notice that there are 2 white patches there.
Yes.
This is basically a green twig which had come in the in the middle of the thing, and I had an option of moving it, but I was not sure whether he would still keep watching in the camera. So I didn't care. I said let it be, let imperfection of nature be we come in the shot, and that's how it is. So in fact, I urge a lot of photographers also that even if the shot is not perfect, yeah, it doesn't matter. It really doesn't. And this was right in the very low light, so the colors are very interesting, almost like a jaguar in South America. And this is a black-bellied tern from Chambal. Another rare, very endangered bird, only found in rivers. And Chambal is one of those last places where it has a stronghold. So thankfully it's there. And right now, of course, the sand mafia and a lot of threats it's facing. But thankfully there's a small patch where there are little islands where it can breed and have a happy time there. So, and finally, this is the Puna bird, the little crake, the one which I used to go 200 kilometers for. So this is the little tiny bird, size of a small chick, and it's a migrant species. It comes from it winters in India, comes from outside. And the moment I knew that it was nearby, so I landed up going and watching this bird 3 days. Thrice, in a row.
Amazing.
Now this is a landscape shot. Thank you. And you might see some creature here, a small creature here, and another one here. This is in Nandur, Madhyameshwar, Maharashtra. And you will see this is a jackal, and this is a purple heron. And there are in fact 2 more jackals which are outside the frame. One is here, hidden, and one is outside the frame. They were actually planning a coordinated attack to kill this one. Okay. So it was a thrilling, and we were very far. We could see this happening. So the jackals were, happily planning to surround this purple heron and kill it. But thankfully, the heron saw this one coming, and the moment it came here, it flew away. So these are kind of experiences when you realize that how amazing wildlife by itself, it knows when to take care of itself. So it's really good that way.
Really, really amazing. Wow.
Thank you. Yeah, this is a golden jackal again. Same place, Nandur Madhumeshwar, the next night. And we were searching and we came across this one staring right into us, into the cameras without any fear. And it came very close actually. This is what I call a conservation photography photograph. And this little bird is the Eurasian Curlew. It has a very long down curved bill.
Yes.
And again, it's endangered. And this is in Arnala, again, Maharashtra. So the reason I took this photo is that, how close the birds have come to human habitation and what are the threats they are facing. Because this beach is normally very clear, but a lot of times we see garbage, we see a lot of toxic material, and these birds which come here as guests, they have to face these challenges. And this is that Nagaland photograph, the Amur falcons. So you can imagine they're looking like locusts, Yes. They hardly look like birds here. But
this is amazing.
Yeah, so the sky is absolutely full of these falcons.
Wow.
And this is again Amur falcon, the male and the female. The male is flying by the female, trying to check her out. And this is 2 weeks back. This is the same place I was telling you, the Ganga Barrage. This is a lesser whistling duck, and it has 7 chicks with it. So she was just there in the dusk. Normally that's the time when they come out. And it was happily, taking them around, making them learn to swim, to hunt. And that's how it was. Eaten and busted.
Really?
Godawan, and taken at Desert National Park, one of the rarest species. And we hope that we'll be able to conserve it. I've very recently, joined hands with a NGO called the ERDS Foundation, and they are actually helping in the conservation of this GIB. So I'm just doing my little tiny bit, whatever I can, to help save this bird.
Lovely.
Thank you. This is again the Indian gazelle, the chinkara. I call this photo the double vision. It looks like, it's like a two-headed creature, but it's an illusion, of course. And within seconds, they bolted. They just stayed there for a second. And this, of course, is a photographer's delight. This is the Oriental dwarf Kingfisher. And this absolutely blows everybody's minds, especially in the people in the Western Ghats are in love with this bird, and rightfully so. So many colors in a tiny little bird, and here it is with a prey which it took for its child. They were feeding its young ones.
Wonderful.
And this is the vulture from Jaisalmer. A whole group of vultures, eating up cattle, dead cattle, of course. And this is important because vultures, again, very rare, endangered these days. And thankfully, we are doing things about saving them. And this is a small little baby of the Indian thickney, again in Chambal. So I'm rushing through a little bit because lots of photos, so I just thought I'll quickly. And this is the Indian skimmer, again a rare bird from Chambal. And this, hopefully, Saevus will print my article on skimmers very soon.
It's really with
Yes, it's a wonderful species to see. And this is that bird from Arunachal, the Bugun Leo Chikla, which I was telling you about. It's a very poor shot, very low light. It was just there for 2 seconds. And this is the bird which I want to get a good shot of because it's endangered, and it's named after the Bugun tribe, which is actually helping that bird, helping the conservation of that bird, because that entire area is actually under that tribe. So I've been lucky to interact with them, interact with the IFS officer there, Milo Tasar sir, who's so proactive and helping in this conservation. This is from Bharatpur, Rajasthan, the Saras mating ritual, the dance. And this is back to Kavini.
And the audience is amazed with your works. I mean, you can't imagine the amount of comments we have getting.
Thank you so much. I mean, it's so. So I'll just show you a small video. This is the lesser florican. Like it's a 2-second video. You'll just see the jump, the characteristic jump, which I want the audience to see too. So here it is. And There you go. Just for a second. So that's the part. And this is the rain quail, which is right now also a lot of people might see this bird in grasslands, and it'll start its song very soon. And there you go. Yeah. So it's a tiny little bird, but with a very, very shrill sound.
Very,
So
very
that,
strong pair of lungs.
yes. So
So
that was part of
the
the collection,
comments
which I
that the audience is posting, everyone is delighted to see your images.
Thank you so much. I mean, it's just a pleasure to share these photos, and I hope that people, get into wildlife photography and help nature. That's the whole idea. That the photography, of course, is a medium, but it's actually the animals and the birds which we want to save.
Definitely, definitely. So I would like to come back to you on the gear.
Okay.
What start with?
Yeah, it's right there.
That,
So yes.
what did you start with?
Actually, see, the thing is that I started off with those little digital cameras which used to come, the tiny ones, and with
Yes,
hardly any zoom. So that's where the journey began. And then, of course, I graduated, gradually as my hobby increased and my passion increased. And right now, I have Nikon D50. That's the camera, and the 500 mm prime. That, of course, is the heart. Because of the lens, is only because of the lens that we can capture these birds from far away. So especially that. But any specific questions about gears would be
uh,
I don't know if you have any maybe posted here.
would you recommend to
Hmm.
a budding birder as maybe his
To
starting?
starting, okay, I would say the Nikon, the P900 and series, and other series, they have this built-in zoom, and that is really convenient. It's light, it's easy to carry, and it's a very good zoom, for the start. Because normally what happens is if you're starting off and you're not getting good photos, you get disappointed, and you might land up, leaving the thing. So it shouldn't be that. And this camera actually helps you to capture very far off birds. Maybe not that clearly, but at least you have these photos which you can show people. Okay, this is that photo which I saw like very far away and stuff. So that way, at least you can start off, with your photography, and then gradually go on to DSLRs. Ultimately, DSLRs is a good choice, and people with even bigger budgets can go for mirrorless cameras, and they are even better.
Yes,
So of course, the technology keeps improving. By the time we decide that we have the money and we have the inclination to buy it, there's already time to a new camera is already in the market. So it's difficult that way. but you should go ahead and anything. At the end, the gear doesn't really matter. It's just a medium, as I said. And the point is that you should be passionate about it, and you should just get out there, try spending as much time. Now, that is the crucial part. If you land up spending time in the field and clicking a lot of pictures, and you understand that what are the right angles and the light and the subjects, what would you want them to be doing. So that is sort of educates you even better than any camera can. So I think that is better.
definitely. So there was one question. We'll have to scroll a little bit back. Someone had
Mm-hmm.
asked, which is the most rare bird found in India? The
The rare
rarest bird,
birds. Okay.
yeah, has to
Uh,
be the GIB, I
now,
guess.
yeah, absolutely. GIB is one of them. There's one very little known bird which I want to mention. I don't have a photograph, and that actually is one of my target species right now. It's called the Finns weaver, and
Hmm.
it's from the Baya weaver family. A lot of people might know the Baya weaver. It's a yellow-colored bird which makes these big, nests, but they're not actually nests. They are for display. And so the Finns weaver is actually, if not equally endangered, if not more endangered, then at least equally endangered than the GI. And it is found in the Terai region, in the marshy area of UP and Uttarakhand, and that's a very rare bird, the Finns weaver.
Okay, great. And one more question before I leave the field to you. That is the care of camera gear. What would you
Huh.
recommend for the care of gear?
Right. So, see, one thing which I recommend always is that if you have this kind of camera, especially, you should have this neoprene cover, and that is really good. when you're going out in the field, there are a lot of things which you can't predict. Sudden water splash or mud splash or heat, cold, things like that. So if you have an external cover like the green one, which I'm showing you here, is really good for your camera gear. That is one. And the number two is make sure that dust and fungus don't accumulate. So for that, you need to keep them stored in a dry place. That is very important. So if your bag gets wet, for example, you went out in a monsoonal spirit, and you landed up going in a wet place, and you forgot that the bag was wet, and you put the camera inside. So that is going to be a problem because you might have fungus growth inside. So that is very risky. So make sure that the bag is dried, or you have another bag, and then you keep it there. That will be helpful. These two things I think can take care mostly.
Thank you. There is a question here. Can you suggest what's the basic lens or focal length to start wildlife photography?
Okay, so this is again, see, wildlife photography, if you're talking about big animals, like, then you may start off with something like, let's say 200, 300 mm. But if you're looking at birds, then I would say 300, anything above 300 is good. So we have various options, Tamron, Nikon, Canon, and especially Tamron and Sigma. These are lens specific companies, and they're the lens which are very good qualities and compatible with Nikon and Canon cameras also, and Sony as well. So these lenses actually are very much low budget as compared to the original Nikon lenses, and they get the job done. So I would really recommend that, if you have a choice, you could go start off with that and experiment. And maybe if not possible, then go for a second hand. It's always nice, because I started off with that, I started off with a lot of lenses which were, because they're so costly.
Very good of it.
Exactly. So it's really good. That way you can start off, and then you'll know your need. Okay, that am I happy with this shot or not? Or would I need something better than this? So that way it really helps. So go ahead and experiment. That is my point.
Definitely. So the next question is also in the same strain. As a beginner in photography, what do we need to learn? And accordingly, what camera to use?
Is better for mine. Okay. So this is Vinay. Yes. So the important thing, as I said, is that if you need, you need to know your subject well. A lot of times what happens is we'll end up thinking that, okay, I have the best camera in the world, or a decent camera, and that's it. I don't need anything else in that. But what happens is, if you know your subject well, where it is, what its habits are, what its habitats are, how it's going to react to you and to others around it, you'll be able to predict its movements. And then you'll be able to take a much better photo, because its next movement is going to be probably this. Or if it's a bird, then it's probably going to be seen in the morning, not in the evening, or vice versa. So that is important to get to know the subject, so you can read up, from internet, from various courses. There are so many online courses available. So go ahead and do that. And after that, of course, the second part is that what camera. So the camera, of course, as I said, this is entirely your choice. You start off with any camera which suits your budget. Go ahead and start clicking. Once you start clicking, only then you realize that where you're lacking, what you need. Maybe it's a better lens, or a better camera, or a better time, more practice. All of this is entirely your choice. It is a very personal process. So you need to venture it that way.
See what suits your hand.
Yeah, what suits your hand. Absolutely.
Another question by Mr. Sanjay. How many species of birds do we have in India at present? Any idea?
Okay. Mr. Sanjay happens to be my father. And that's a very interesting question, Papa. There are about 1,300 species in India. He's testing me. So, well, yeah, I'll give you the answer. It's 1,300. Nearly 13. Of course, it's a round number, but yeah, plus minus.
Okay, so Mr. Abhijit Basu has asked, on a jungle walking trail, what would you recommend, tripod or monopod? Where would you use each of them?
Okay, that's a very good question, Abhijit. See, monopods, what normally happens is I would suggest monopod, definitely, because tripods are heavy. So it's a very big problem. And secondly, the maneuverability of a tripod is obviously less as compared to monopod, because you can easily switch, because in the jungle you don't know when you are very close to a bird and suddenly it gets flushed and it flies away. By the time you set up your tripod, it's already gone. So my personal suggestion is, I have a tripod, and for a very long time I never used it, because I'm not the tripod kind of person. I'm very handheld. that way. So we should ensure that tripods are used in those places where you know that subject is not going to fly. Maybe like, beaches, or maybe areas where the birds are very used to human beings. So they'll be there. So that is the kind of place where you know that you can have those money shots, that the place where you can really get the good, crisp and interesting shots. Maybe you need to make a video of them. So these are places when tripod can be used. But jungle trail, monopod, or I would say no pods at all. It's always better to go hand
If needed, a beanbag.
Yes, exactly. A beanbag is better. Absolutely.
Okay, so I'm just scrolling back. What
Yeah.
are some good books to read for good wildlife knowledge?
Oh, nice. So that's good. You have lots of wildlife books, and some of them are here. I can actually show this to you. This is a very good birding guide. I mean, this is, I don't know if you can, maybe the text is getting switched because that's mirroring. It's called Birds of Indian Subcontinent by Grimmett and Inskip. So this is the starting point for bird, at least. And for wildlife, well, there's no particular single book. But what you can do is you can read about it online. There's a lot of resources online. So you can start off by that. And, Google it and you get some birds or some books about animals, wildlife, mammals. So typically what happens is they classify these creatures according to the class. So you'll have a book on birds, you'll have a book on reptiles, snakes. So it depends on what kind of, animals you are interested in. If it's just the big cats, then you'll have a particular book on cats. And so you can go for that. Or if you're into butterflies, so there's a specific book on butterflies as well. So that way, totally, whatever catches your fancy, you can, read that. And of course, this is something which I have, it's on the back of my mind. Maybe the other person can contact me on Insta later. I'll try to get some list of books.
So anyone who's listening to this and wants to know more, you can always contact Raghav.
Yes, absolutely. Most welcome.
This is Apu. He has asked, in this lockdown period, I started bird photography with my 85mm prime lens. And I got some satisfactory pictures. And next, I want to upgrade the lens and suggest me something for birding with my Nikon 7200.
Well, you can again go for something. Maybe let's say if you have 85, then next logical step would be something like 18 to 200, or let's say 55 to 300. So try taking a versatile lens. Don't go for a prime lens initially, because it will help you understand your subjects better. Prime lens, of course, is better. The performance, the quality overall for a prime lens, that is a lens with fixed focal length, is always better. But initially, when you're starting off, it's always, in fact, even advanced wildlife photographers also used a lot of zoom lens, the ones with variable focal length, because it gives them the flexibility. You might have a tiger so close to you that your zoom lens will become totally useless. And a lot of times it happens with us also that, birds come so close to us that the zoom lens actually becomes useless. What do we do with it? You can't carry the bird home. So that is what happens. It's so close. So it totally depends on your subjects. I would recommend you go for a flexible lens initially. So 18 to 200 or 300, that's a good lens. It'll be give you the flexibility for closer subjects as well as further ones. And then, of course, you can later graduate. This is a gradual process. Do not be bogged down by this fact that there's one lens which I'll carry for the rest of my life. That's not going to happen. If you're a serious photographer, you will end up being dissatisfied with it very soon. So it happens. So
somebody asked about insects. So I guess I think asking about in macro photography or for suggestions on books for insects.
Books on insects. So again, insects is a very vast topic, because if you're doing butterflies and moths, so I have books right here which are specific to butterflies. You have Isaac Kemker's book, which is very good on butterflies. And I'm forgetting the author of the moths book, but that's also excellent. So macro photography, of course, is a good option. In fact, if a lot of people might see, one of the first few photographs which I posted in Instagram is that of a dragonfly. And it's a very close up. And a lot of people are asking, which macro lens is it? Surprisingly, it's my phone, the one which I'm talking to you right now on. So, so in fact, that's exactly what it is, that insects, a lot of times it's actually easier to capture it through your phone because they can, the details come up because these phones are really good. A lot of phones have these very good cameras as well. Unless you're really into macro and you want the compound eyes to show up, you want each of the cells of the compound eyes to be visible, maybe then you can probably go for a macro lens. But lots of books, again, you can contact me. I'm forgetting the name of the person. I'll give the names, whichever books they are.
Okay, somebody has asked, Shweta, any tips for APS-C user?
I am not sure about APS-C. What does that mean? Shwetan, can you explain? Would you know, ma'am? I'm not sure what APS-C is.
Well, I am not really...
Yeah, see, I'm already getting, behind my craft. I'm already it's a technological minefield. You'll land up anywhere and just burst. So I don't know. Shwetan has to answer what an APS-C is.
Sure.
APS-C sensor size. I'm not sure. I really don't know. Charita, hi. I know Charita, but I am not sure of the APS-C. I'll have to probably read up and then get back to you. If you're talking about FX and DX sensors, maybe that I can explain, the cropped versus the non-cropped. Is that the question? Or I'm not sure. If they can respond, then probably. Yeah.
I think you should go for it.
Crop sensors. Yes, right. Okay, good. So I'm not so what do you say? I'm forgetting the word. Not so far behind in technology here. So crop sensor, yes. FX versus DX. I normally we call that in Nikon. Crop sensor. The advantage is that you get a good framing, especially for birds, especially for wildlife photography. But always remember that the full sensor will have definitely more light gathering area. So it will be more sensitive to low light conditions, and you can always crop later. So that is something which you have always. So I would always recommend that later, maybe you can start off with a crop sensor, but later graduate to a full sensor. That is always better because it gives you light.
Wonderful. Thank you, Raghav. Thank you so much for some wonderful time. I had a nice time to you. And,
I had a wonderful time, man.
Really informative. There are so many. And last question, please. Are you using a converter?
Teleconverter. Yeah, not right now. Not as of now. Teleconverters, see, the problem is that every time you use it, your F number drops. So, the light which is entering the lens, entering your camera becomes a little less every time. So teleconverters, of course, are recommended if you have a very good lighting condition, if you're sure that where you're going, maybe you have a tripod. These factors help. But personally, I've never used teleconverter. Maybe in the future I would, but I'm not sure. So that's something which I've left for the future.
Okay. Thank you. And I actually am totally in view with you, Charita. I'm delighted to listen to you, Raghav, and thank you so much for your.
Thank you so much. And thank you to you.
Your precious time.
Thank you, Saevus, for this amazing opportunity.
Before, when I had called to really bother you with my questions, so thank you so much. Your images are wonderful. We do hope you get to capture the birds that you are looking forward to. May your next eagle nest trip be really, really fruitful.
Absolutely.
Thank you
so much. Thank you so much, and thank you everybody for joining and for supporting. Thank you, Team Saevus, for giving me this opportunity, and thank you, Damayanti ma'am, for being an amazing host, ever smiling host, and it's always a pleasure to talk to you. Thank you.
It was really, really our pleasure and our privilege. Thank you, Raghav.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. That was Raghav Gupta for you. He really, really made me a very happy person today with a really, really informative session. We hope you enjoyed it too. We will be back next week with more amazing stories from the wild.